Hello and welcome to the Bold Leadership Stories Show, where we talk with leaders about their experiences that have been shaping their exceptional lives. And today I have an exceptional leader in the house, Ryan Pflip Pflipsen. And Ryan has so many degrees. It's like as long as my arm, all these degrees he's got, an MS, an MSW, an LCSW. And he's had people nickname him Rhino. We'll talk about that. You can see that in the background on his screen there. And he's got expertise in and is a leader and change agent in the areas of counseling and leadership. And welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thanks, Jim.
I get to call you Ryan or Flip or Rhino. It's got all these
fine.
options to be able to call you today. It's fun.
Yeah.
So what's going on with you right now?
Right now, I'm here in San Antonio, where I just looked at the weather. It's a steamy, humid 88 degrees, and it says it's raining. But I'm looking outside the window here to my right, and I don't see any rain. So I don't know. The National Weather Service
Count yourself
might not
lucky.
have all their information correct. But
yeah, well, I remember I used to travel down that way. I was visiting Compaq, the old Compaq building with Hewlett Packard down in Austin. And, yeah, and we were, I remember I was in the hotel room, walking into my room one evening. It was like 11 o'clock at night and it was completely dark. And before I turned the light on, and just as I opened the door, the curtains were closed on the room. This is just a standard hotel room, you know, and curtains were closed. I was up about third floor, and all of a sudden the room just lit up and lightning hit in the parking lot. Like, that lightning bolt must have been really close, because the whole
really close to light the room up.
And then I heard this boom, and all of the car alarms went off in the parking lot. Beep, 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 beep. And it's like, oh my God, what just happened? And then we don't get that in California.
Oh.
So it was exciting for me just to be in that little, that moment. It's like, wow, you really got to be careful walking in these parking lots.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, count yourself lucky you're not going to get hit today with that rain. Maybe
Amen.
That's a good
we need the rain, but not the lightning.
Yeah. Wow. That was insane. That lightning bolt. I'll never forget that.
Mm-hmm.
So you were born and raised in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and your parents still living there?
They do.
And how old were you? You have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I actually have one younger brother who actually lives out in California, just around the Santa Barbara area. So I'm not sure where that's compared to you, where you're at, but yeah, just the two of us. I always say, mom and dad gave us some deep, Midwestern roots, but gave us big wings too. I graduated undergrad and went to my first grad degree up in Minnesota, and took the second year as the opportunity with the internship to get to a little bit warmer climate. So I ended up here, and my brother, through his endeavors, ended up in California.
Awesome. So you've got a disability.
I do. You can't see that on the screen.
Tell me about
sometimes
that.
When I speak, whether it's on screen or in person, I'll kind of hide the wheelchair or the crutches. But I do. I have a physical disability called spina bifida.
Okay. And what is that?
That is a condition where I kind of describe it as like frayed electrical wires. Spina, relating to the spine. Literally, when I was born, and bifida, meaning open, I had an open spine. My nerves and the lining and the sac that have the nerves in the spinal column, in my case, protruded out the back, out the skin, in a little pouch. And so those nerves, like a frayed wire that's plugging in maybe a lamp or something, they were damaged. And so the neurosurgeons had to go in, day one and kind of stuff everything back into place. But the damage is done. So in my case, it's in the lower back, the lumbar area, about L4, L5. And so I have limited muscle development in my legs below my knees, and a little bit of, little sensation. So I use the crutches and the wheelchair, like I mentioned, to get around. And I also have some carbon fiber Kevlar AFOs, ankle foot orthotic. Basically, it wraps around my leg in the back and under my foot, and I strap those on each leg, and slip the shoes on over them, and rock and roll and get on and live my life like everybody else.
It doesn't seem to slow you down much.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So,
Yeah.
so tell us about your nicknames. You've got Pflip Pflipsen. That's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Pflip Pflipsen.
Thanks. Yeah. Flip was a nickname, kind of a family nickname without the P, just FLIP. And I have to this day, I think, a sterling silver ID bracelet that was my paternal grandfather's that just says Flip. And I got that in high school and after his passing. And just classmates started seeing me with that. And I think even probably before that, I had folks calling me Flip. And so it's kind of been a family nickname, and up in the Midwest there where I grew up. And then I moved down here to San Antonio in 1996, like I mentioned, to do that second year internship for my Master's of Science in Rehabilitation Counseling. Mm-hmm. And had gone to church and met a guy who introduced me to the Amway home, independent business. Mm-hmm. And he just one day started calling me Rhino, and I thought about that. And the joke with my mom with that, after sharing that, part of my disability that you may not see as well, is I'm blind in my right eye, and I guess rhinos don't have good vision. But just kind of that mentality of rhinos being kind of headstrong and charging ahead, not letting any obstacle get in their way. That kind of resonated with me. And
I remember when I was, we used to belong to the San Diego Wild Animal Park. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite things to do, we used to go there all the time. We had season passes, and I'd take the kids. And one of my favorite mm-hmm. things to do is go out into they have an open area where they keep all of the big critters. Mm-hmm. And it's an open range. It's really cool. And I remember they have an area set aside for the rhinos.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and they would always stop the tram to mm-hmm. Just sit and watch and observe the rhinos, and they're so impressive. Yeah. And one day one of them saw something interesting in the tram, and it got up and it started running right toward us. And it's like, whoa, it's like a freight train coming. Yeah. And it stopped, of course, right before it hit the wall. And
thankfully
it was intimidating, I tell you what.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got the nickname Rhino because you're just beating down walls.
Right? Yeah, I think that friend and that introduced me to Amway kind of saw that, and that and I hadn't let anything with my disability stop me from getting the degrees and doing what I want to do, and
because you got your degrees. You speak, right?
Yeah, I speak every once in a while like this, whether it's on a podcast or spoken to various groups, Outward Bound, and some other associations and things like that periodically that I get the opportunity to talk to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you work a lot with people who are also have disabilities, right? Mm-hmm. So what is your focus there? What brings you joy with what you do?
Going to college, I had an experience in high school where I spent about a month in the hospital between my sophomore and junior year. And growing up, I used to joke in my 20s and 30s that I'm such and such age, and I've had that many surgeries or I have that many incisions. Just used to hate, like probably a lot of us do, needles and all that stuff. Sure. And that experience in high school, I had like 4 surgeries in the course of 2 weeks, and I kind of gained an appreciation for life and for what they were doing to help me and save me.
How old were you?
16, 17 years old.
Okay, wow.
So I came back and started thinking about going to medical school, and was biology pre-med the first 2 years of college up in Moorhead, Minnesota. and love the medicine and that idea and helping folks, but the grades and whatnot weren't quite there
Okay.
with the sciences. So I switched, and I was looking at, hey, where can I make an impact? And so I was thinking about social work, counseling, and psychology. And social work at the time, ironically, was the one degree where you didn't need a master's degree or a PhD to practice. I could make an impact right away. Well, I went on, as I mentioned, to Mankato State, and pursued that. But I think it's given me the opportunity to relate and have kind of some of that educational background. So kind of matching the personal experience having a disability, and I got involved in mentoring kids at a camp that my parents and some doctors and a group of parents started for kids with spina bifida. I had the opportunity in my early teen years to go to a camp called Camp Courage up in the Minnesota, central Minnesota area, and they're a big rehab courage center, and have a bunch of programs there. So through that experience, had the opportunity to get involved in the development of the spina bifida camp, and go back and during my summers off from college, mentor the kids with spina bifida, and then through my professional endeavors as first a medical social worker and a rehab counselor, being able to help folks that maybe have had a disability like myself from birth, or have had a traumatic accident. Now they're looking at what can they do. And so just the joy of being able to help folks work through those types of circumstances and situations. And, those that may not have had that with my counseling career and coaching and speaking and stuff. It's like, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. And I can help show you the way, or we can figure out the way together.
Awesome. So you're like the head of the spear, going through the challenges and then going back and helping people work through it, get it done faster and easier. What are some of the challenges you've faced?
Probably a lot of the challenges that I've faced have just been a lot of what we all have probably experienced, but growing up and being teased for being different, having to just be aware of and learn how to walk down a flight of stairs, or find an elevator, and kind of find those workarounds, so to speak. Interestingly enough, my one of my kind of mentors, my elementary school principal, would take me ahead of the class. Well, the teacher would take the rest of the class down up there. We had basements in the school where they had like the gym and music and the arts class and stuff, and some of the higher grades. I learned to speak or count to Spanish to 20, I think, when I was in elementary school, because the principal would make me count the stairs in Spanish. So yeah, it's just kind of a fun little story that I wanted to mention. But
Cool.
obstacles, I've had gone through, just like I said, things that everybody goes through: job loss, getting fired, moving, which can be a challenge, apartment fire that we had several years ago, dealing with plumbing issues, all sorts of fun stuff that have been obstacles, and just needing to kind of overcome those. And my mentality over the years, and just routine, whether it's having to get up early because it takes me longer to get dressed or whatever, is just developing those routines to help, so that when those crises come, you can, get through them, overcome them. And, with whether it was the fire or anything, it's like, okay, what can I do immediately to take care of myself, others? But then what can I do to get back and get into my regular routine, or at least a little bit of my routine, as soon as possible? So, that's been helpful when obstacles like that have come up.
So that's interesting. So you have, seems like you've mastered the ability to work through things and stay whole. I mean, be, instead of like getting frustrated, it's like, and just dithering on doing anything, and just sitting down and saying, I quit. You
Right.
haven't said that. How do you
Things.
help other people? What do you tell them? What is it that's inside of you, excuse me, that gets you
Mhm.
that energy, that strength to be able to do that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Jim. And I think it probably boils down to resilience. Like I think when we were talking earlier, I mentioned, being not necessarily an avid reader, but hearing about guys like John Maxwell or, you know, uh, Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, some of those guys
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
my dad was in Toastmasters and got me involved or I got involved in that later on in
Okay.
life. And, just some of the self-improvement programs and getting around people like them, whether in person or over a CD, DVD, tape or whatever, a
Uh-huh.
book, and just incorporating that mentality, more and more into my daily life. I love the water, and having a disability, I always thought, oh man, and I don't know, somewhere along the way, obviously being an American, a proud American, have a affinity for the military, and I've probably worked with some when I've done internships at the VA, and worked for a financial company here in San Antonio, USAA, that serves the financial needs of the military. And I
Mm-hmm.
started reading a bunch of these books that these Navy SEALs were coming out with, and just again, it kind of getting engrossed and ingrained in their mentality and their perseverance and what they've done, and to overcome what my parents would say too. There's somebody out there that's always experienced something that's worse than you. You know,
Yeah.
don't the aforementioned some of the Navy SEALs that have lost limbs and things. And so I've been put in check and a time or two, and it's been interesting just to kind of help folks kind of through my own experience and meeting people where they're at. I think that's I have to realize, and it's kind of almost a two-sided coin or a double-edged sword. I've
Mm-hmm.
had clients and folks I've talked to who it's like, oh, yeah, you have a disability and that's so great that you've been able to do this or that. But, me, Mr. Able-bodied or Miss Able-bodied, whatever, I don't think I could do that. So, and then on the other hand, it's like, oh, wow, you've done that. You seem like you're worse off than me. I surely can do that. So the dichotomy's been funny and interesting over the years, and you never know. And I've been fortunate where I've had the opportunity over the years to have somebody recognize me in public and that may have seen me professionally or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, I saw you such and such in 2010, 2011. I'm better. I didn't understand it at the time, what we talked about. And,
How's
you
that
know,
feel?
oh, feels great. But, you never know, we're here at this, today, we're here at this one instance in time. I was one instance in time with some of those clients, and it's, you hope bless them and give into their lives and that they get better.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes you don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
you
You
just,
say you meet them where they're at. Explain
mhm.
that.
Yeah. So, somebody might come in, they might have had some sort of loss, or in a lot of my counseling's, it was in a medical clinic. And so they might have been referred because of a medical condition. Maybe they're newly diagnosed with, could have been diabetes, hypertension, something more severe like cancer, maybe an amputation or something. And it could have been just that they've struggled with something more like depression, anxiety, bipolar, or schizophrenia or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
just recognizing that it's a human being in front of me, and where they're at on their journey, and coming and taking that chance and that risk of coming and hopefully getting help that they might feel a little bit hopeless about. And so meeting them where they're at and realizing that, yeah, I might be, somewhere else and I can help them hopefully get through what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
But, I have to take a step back and realize, oh, well, they're at this point where maybe I was at that point 5, 10, 15 years ago or whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to walk with them and help them work through what they need to work through.
Sure. Give me an example of an outcome that you've been able to help someone with.
Well, I think, some of those stories that we were talking about just with, meeting somebody, years later and finding out, oh, hey, you helped me. But specifically just being able to give them some strategies, some reflection on, hey, here's what you're doing. You're depressed, as an example, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And with a lot of folks that are depressed, they want to sleep in till noon. They don't want to get engaged as much in something that might have been an enjoyable activity in the past. Some have kind of that borderline suicidal thought. Some might be a little bit more active, and that's a whole nother level of what, takes priority. But just somebody that is depressed, they don't want to do, what might be the best thing for them to do. So just kind of helping to work them back up to, hey, what if, in a year you were in a place where you were back enjoying life, doing what you enjoyed in the past, finding some value, giving value to others. That's a great thing where, I think if we get out of ourselves and out of our own ways, so to speak, and we help somebody else in need despite our own needs, I think that goes a long way in, kind of in a roundabout way, helping us, feel better and getting ourselves out of the dumps, so to speak.
Sure.
But
But it's really cool that you put yourself in a position where you can be that person. I mean, be that resource, so that people who find themselves in a predicament where they feel hopeless or overwhelmed or just really aren't thriving anymore, help them to, say, hey, it's okay. I've been there.
Yeah.
And like, this is what we can do. We can help you. We can help you get, and then paint a picture for them and help them see the bigger view and what's possible, and give them hope again. That's beautiful.
Absolutely. And I'll never forget, as a intern in rehab counseling, sitting waiting for my paratransit van at the VA here, back in 96, 97. And there's some veterans sitting outside smoking. And I said, hey, I'm a young professional going into, rehab counseling, social work. What advice do you have for me as far as, helping you guys out? And I've heard this so many times over the years, and some current clients that I see who have, are veterans and service connected. And they're like, we know you can't fully understand, and nobody can unless you're a band of our brothers that have gone through and served in war. But we can see that, you're in a wheelchair, you're on crutches. We know
your own.
We know, I've had my challenges, and they know that I'm familiar with what they're going through, at least kind of medically and those sorts of things. So, that's an asset that I have that I don't take for granted with that population. And, certainly other.
I wanted to show your some of your web stuff. So I want to share my screen here with your. I'll do your Instagram first.
Yeah.
Oh, can you see that?
I can. Yeah.
So talk us through what are we seeing here? What kind of pictures? What are you doing?
Yeah. So a couple there probably are Another podcast I was on, a friend of mine who actually was a classmate, Awkwardly Awesome, Jason Freeman, follow him. I'd recommend just, I've had the opportunity to be on his podcast. He has cerebral palsy and speaks, and despite having a speech impediment. The picture right next to that, I'm wearing an all-can, what's called an all-can ski. It was an event where I actually had the opportunity to go and do adaptive water skiing and have the face mask on there that was taken during COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
What adaptive water skiing? What is that?
Yeah. So if you picture like I guess a wakeboard or a knee board that has like this metal hammock on it.
Uh-huh.
And you kind of sit your butt down in the hammock and put your feet forward, and they go into a little slot, probably like they do on an able-bodied person's skis, and you grab onto a rope and sit there, and you get pulled around the lake on a sit ski, basically.
That's cool.
And I haven't had the opportunity, even, ironically growing up in South Dakota, to go do it, but they even have a similar device and some short poles to do snow skiing, adaptive snow skiing. So
very cool. Well, I do both. I love water skiing. I've done a lot of it, and then snow skiing. I do both snow skiing and snowboarding. So,
yeah, my mom tried to teach me cross country skiing at a golf course growing up when we'd have some good snow and they'd have some trails. You'd think I would have adapted and transitioned easily to it. The poles as my crutches, but I would fall too much. Some other pictures there I see are from my appearances with Jason. The one there in the middle where I'm in a suit, looks like a red curtain behind. That was actually the opportunity I spoke of earlier, where I had the opportunity to speak to the Upward Bound group here at St. Mary's University. They had some high schoolers that I hopped on for a couple hours, and I talked about what you see there too, the ABLE acronym: having a positive attitude, a belief in yourself, leadership, being able to lead yourself and empower others to be good, lead their lives. And then the wheel down, the tire and the spokes there, kind of modified that, but I speak about that similar to Zig Ziglar, I think, talked about that and the spokes, and I think a few other people modified it.
Love all of Zig's stuff.
Yeah, and so kind of the way I look at the wheel is the center is kind of what holds everything together, and the spokes are kind of those areas in our lives: work, family, recreation, faith, all that kind of stuff, and the tire being the people that we meet in those areas that kind of connect us together. But, without those people, you got floppy spokes flopping around, and without the spokes, you don't have anything connecting you to the center. And
it makes it hard to roll.
Yeah, exactly. The center holds everything together, whether that's God or whatever's at the center of your life. The blue dot there, I don't know if you can see it, but
barely. I can see a rhino in there.
Yeah. Somebody pointed that out, and so I snagged that and I grabbed that, I think, off social media. And having the visual impairment and some color blindness, I don't always see the rhino unless I can really focus real well. But as a rhino, so I love that. And then you see down there the spectrum and the schema being kind of that prism and how we view life and how we can view life differently, which kind of echoes that picture that one of those pictures behind me there that I got as well, to kind of represent that. So
we'll see that
right there.
There you go.
So
very cool. So
just some good
what
stuff
do people do if they here? I'm going to put up your I'm going to put up your Twitter. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So you've got this, and there's a lot of tweets.
Yeah, a lot of those are stuff that I don't post a lot necessarily on social media as much as just I see things that are of interest that can create some dialogue, and that might be one thing or another. And
very cool.
So,
you've got your face or your LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. That again,
stuff.
A picture there of myself.
So you're president and CEO of Pflipsen Enterprises.
Yeah.
And then chairman of the board of Rhino Ministries.
Yeah. So
And
those are
then,
two, I think, like I was telling you earlier, Jim, those aren't incorporated per se, but those are two umbrellas that I kind of conceptually at some point will probably incorporate as an LLC or some corporation, but they're what I do kind of everything under.
mhm.
Pflipsen Enterprises to me is a lot of kind of the for-profit stuff, the counseling, coaching, um, any of that kind of speaking. And then going back to my nickname is Rhino. As you just eloquently kind of pointed out there, Rhino Ministries International kind of is what I created there. And the motto for that is remembering him in nurturing others, him capital H, whether that we call that God or whatever kind of holds us together. And just the
Mhm.
idea of, helping others like we've talked about during our time today. I have a disability, but I've got abilities as well. And I can use those abilities to help others. So just through
Yeah.
my example and leadership and, being able to speak about others doing that.
So yeah, here's
And,
your Rhino Ministries International.
yep.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah, I found that picture. That was a great picture.
So you're doing that. You're an independent contractor, right? I mean, in effect.
Yeah, I'm an
So
independent. I'm an independent guy. I do some independent contracting. I was doing a caregiver support group through COVID and had a VA colleague that was kind of helping with that. We've shifted to doing more independent caregiver stuff with that
mhm.
organization called Connectability that we're doing that for. Connectability is a great organization here in San Antonio that helps a variety of disability related organizations. But also work with a company called Gainwell, which is part of the last names of the two co-founders, Russell Gainer and Denise Wellmaker. They put together an administrative counseling company where myself and probably about 15 or 20 counselors are independent and can kind of join in for a monthly fee, and they help, get us referrals, and we serve the senior population that might not be able to get out and go to a counseling center at an academic medical center or a hospital like I served in a few years back.
Is that
And
it?
let's see.
Is this the right one?
Oh, connectability. Uh, I don't think so. That looks a little different. Um, they have
Huh.
kind of
Yeah. Well, I'll put that one
I
in the
think if you
notes.
go to, I think it's for that one, Jim, I think it's myconnectability.org or .com. I think that'll get you to connectability. There we go. So that's Connectability. Great organization. Ironically, full circle, part of my story, when I moved down here, I finished my internship in the mid to late 90s. I joined Warm Springs Rehab Hospital, and they were owned and operated by the Warm Springs Foundation. And the foundation sold the hospital to post-acute medical around 2010, I believe. And then they started Connectability and as a case management and resource place for support groups and a place where folks with disabilities can come together and enjoy and share. So like I said, had the opportunity to come back and work for them as a contracted person to help with their support group and stuff. And then,
Awesome.
so that was a fun full circle moment.
Oh, that's
And then
fantastic.
Gainwell.org, I think.
Gainwell.org.
Gainwell. Yeah.
Or
I think
there's
it's
gainwell.com.
I bet that's what it is.
Yeah, I found it. Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
share that too.
Yeah.
Take a look at that. So that's
Yeah.
you're involved with this company
I'm
too, right?
involved with them as well. Yeah. Along
That's
with these two great organizations, along with doing my, like I said, my own stuff under the Rhino Ministries and Pflipsen Enterprises. Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
You are a busy guy. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. No moss growing
Absolutely.
under your toes.
it's funny, I used to, like I said, work in, the 8 to 4:30, 5 o'clock, and having a disability and not driving, I'd have to get up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock to catch the paratransit van at 6:30 to get to my hospitals or clinic offices at like 8 o'clock. And then, you do the same at the end of the day. And then through just a stroke of stuff that happened at the end of 2017 and into 2018 before COVID, had the
Mm.
opportunity, or forced to, it's one of those opportunities where we don't need you, but had the opportunity to get started with the connectability stuff. And then a year or two later, a few years ago, get started with the Gainwell stuff. And
Hmm.
with Gainwell, I go to some assisted living and senior independent living centers and see 2 or 3 residents and help them with where they're at, and also serve as their student intern coordinators. So, I love giving back, love teaching. And so I just finished with a social work intern and a counseling intern last week, as a matter of fact. And next week I'll start up with a few more. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
but yeah,
Must that
I probably keep busier now than I did when I was, doing the 9 to 5 thing, but I like it. And, you have that balance too, like we talked about the wheel, and having all those spokes and things in line. Two of the things that I love doing is just physical fitness, just in general, because of, some of the physical stuff that I've need to keep in check. But
Mhm.
Tuesday mornings, I'll do chair Zumba, sitting right
Okay.
here. A
That
gal,
Zumba's no joke. That's got a lot
no.
going
And
on,
if you're
man.
sitting, waving and stuff and moving your arms,
I've tried it. It's not easy.
yeah, I did it on my crutches once at a wellness conference, and boy, that beat me up. And that was the first thing of the day. So I'm glad I was sitting at the table the rest of the day, listening to presentations. But yeah, the chair Zumba stuff, a gal, Katie Griffin, that I met through a mutual acquaintance. And she does that for us on Zoom, a group of about probably 3 or 4 of us on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Central, 10 Eastern. And like I said, she's in Boston, and God bless, I love Zoom. It's created a lot of opportunities, even though I think a lot of us have been Zoomed out. This wouldn't have been possible meeting you without social media and Zoom, and some
Yeah.
connections online wouldn't have been possible. And then the other thing I do is some chair yoga on Thursday afternoons. And occasionally, I just found this organization, I forget what they're called. They do the Zumbas and the yogas, but then they also do boxing. So
No
sitting there,
way.
you know, you know, so
All
yeah, you
right.
gotta find fun and
Sure.
enjoy, find those positive things that can kind of outweigh the negative stuff in life. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I enjoyed it, having fun.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. So
yeah.
our time is almost up. It goes so fast.
It's fine.
One more question. You got time for one
Sure.
more?
Oh, I got time for 10 more. I can,
Okay.
whatever.
We've got,
I'm here for you.
awesome. Thank you. I, I asked this question to everybody on the show. It's
Hmm.
taking a look at your whole life.
Hmm.
What's the boldest leadership decision that you've made and what were the consequences?
That's a good question. And I might look younger, but I'm 50. So I've probably had a few decisions that I've had to make either for myself as a leader or for others. And boy, that's a good question. Trying to think of some of my city. I sat on the city committee for affirmative action. I don't know that I had some bold decisions there, but certainly we've probably in a lot of situations have had some heated discussions. But the one that popped into my head kind of immediately, just as far as a learning lesson, was back in college. I think it was my senior year. I was a co-chair of our social work student organization, and we had a committee, a board, various titles, various aspects, and I think we were gonna, my knowledge, I was living on campus. I was always on campus. I was always in the social work office, and didn't have that insight to know, oh, some of my classmates, they don't live on campus and they have jobs while they're going to school. I made I think we had classes. This is an example, like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I made the decision on like a Wednesday to go into the office and kind of put a little note up and say, hey, we're going to have a meeting before our 10 a.m. class on Thursday, leadership people. So they're showing, landlines back then, no cell phones and things like that where you can text immediately, get responses. So they're all, classmates are all walking in, thinking about, oh, hey, I'm going to prepare for class and, get in here. And then they're like, you scheduled us to have a meeting right now? Like, oops.
Surprise.
Yeah. Won't do that again. But yeah.
So that was your bold decision to have a meeting before the meeting?
Have a meeting before class. And yeah, that blew up in my face. But
how'd you recover from that one?
Oh, I learned. I was like, always, okay, I won't do any last minute stuff. And I recognized that, oh, not everybody's in the same shoes as I am.
Good lesson in empathy.
Those bold decisions, I think, that are those that you need to make and, not drag. And I think make the decision so you can move on, as tough of maybe a decision it is, whether it's to say, I'd like to help you, but I can't, or, it's not working out, not just keep doing what's not working, or even personal stuff where, making that bold decision where I don't feel good today, but I'm going to do X, Y, Z because it's what I know I need to do. And it's going to make me feel better. And I'll be hopefully feeling better because I accomplished something and did something despite maybe not feeling like I wanted to do that, or, things like that. And being committed to, wow, I'd love to go to that. Sounds like a lot of fun, but, I committed over here to doing this, to give to this retreat or speaking or whatever that, I'm doing. So those, I think, have been some of the bold things, just, having made a decision. And certainly there are times if, priorities, God or higher power, family, those things, family comes at the last minute and says, hey, we're going to have this. We just planned it. It's going to be, Memorial Day weekend. Well, maybe that trumps saying a week ago, I committed to doing something with a group of friends, because that's family. So yeah, those kinds of decisions that are like, okay, well, I made this decision first, but I got to give myself some latitude and look at my values and see, what's most important. Are my friends not important because I don't, I see them more than I see my family that's still up in South, Dakota. Those sorts of decisions and things, I think, have been, whether it's personal or, being able to, through some of my endeavors, say, yes, I'm going to do this. And okay, I committed to this. I'll catch whatever this fun thing is that I'm going to miss because I'm going to speak here or give into this group.
Always got to weigh that stuff. I remember in college, I had a professor, Doc Ryder. He would say, he had a saying, had a bunch of sayings. It's a marketing professor. And one of the things he said was, short-term decisions have long-term consequences.
Yes. Yeah. I kudos to you, by the way. I was watching this morning on Facebook. You did like your 100th Facebook Live. And
yeah.
I think this week you actually made reference to that quote you just quoted.
Wow, and you're actually watching the show.
Of course.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
That's awesome.
Kind of familiarize yourself with, folks you talk to and interact with and know. But yeah, short-term decisions have short-term consequences, but yeah, long-term consequences as well. And, and I could even say long-term, decisions, those that I was just kind of speaking of, that I know I need to make that decision, and indecision is a decision. You're deciding not to make that decision. But make a decision, and you roll with the consequences, and folks that I've talked to in, personal business, in my mental health stuff, that's been a lot of kind of weighing the pros and cons. There's this kind of like 4-quadrant thing that just came to mind where it's like, choosing to, what are the pros to doing something? What are the cons to doing something?
Mm-hmm.
What are the cons to not doing something? And what are the cons or the pros to not doing something? So, some of those might line up where the pros of doing something might match up with the cons of not doing something, or,
Mm-hmm.
but though it's interesting to kind of think about, there are pros and cons, there are consequences to not doing something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are great. Those are great tools to use.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome. You have that. You have all that ready to go for people that are looking for that next step, that edge.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them moving along.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jim. Appreciate it. You're welcome. It was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. So we'll have to do this again. So
absolutely.
Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right.